All right. Hey everyone, it's Mike Nardi here. This is the first live stream that I'm going to be doing to, help you all by answering your Fiverr related questions. If you're new to the channel, I put out YouTube videos to try to help other Fiverr sellers make money selling on the Fiverr platform. So I see that there's already some people in the channel. I'm just going to get the chat box up here and I'll get started. Live chat. Okay, so we got Ariane. Hey, what's up? Afolabi, Joven, I've seen you commenting in the past. Thanks for joining us. And we got my buddy Wayne. Wayne, thanks for joining, man. For those of you who don't know, Wayne also has a Fiverr YouTube channel. He's a top-rated seller, and he actually put me on to doing these live streams. He's done a couple, and he does an amazing job answering questions and just being really helpful to other people selling on Fiverr. So if you haven't checked him out, check him out. So I guess we'll just give it some time to have some other people start joining here. But if you have any questions, the point of this live stream is to give you an opportunity to ask them. I'll do my best to answer any questions that you put in the chat. And if the conversation starts to, quiet down or people get a little less active, I do have a couple of topics that I want to talk about that I think, is relevant to a lot of the new sellers out there on Fiverr trying to make money on the platform. These are questions that I've been hearing a lot all over the internet, a lot of people emailing me on Reddit. So we'll have some good stuff to talk about today. So it looks like we got someone else in the chat. We got Joven again. All right. So I guess I'll get started here. So starting with Aryan, he has a question. Let me just try to pull that up. So he used to rank on either the first or second page consistently until about 3 days ago, when him and a buyer decided to mutually cancel an order. Since then, he hasn't gotten any new orders and can't find his gig on any page. All right, so I mean, I know that on Fiverr, one of the things that we all are always concerned about is making sure that we're constantly and consistently ranking highly on Fiverr. And obviously, part of that kind of formula and equation that Fiverr uses to filter people up to the top has to do with order completion rate. So if you and your buyer mutually cancel an order, and this is a one-off for you and is not something that happens pretty often, you should be fine and you should be able to bounce back. However, if you're a newer seller and this is pretty impactful to your, order completion statistics, you might want to either message Fiverr support to see if that's affecting you, or maybe it just is a situation where you might want to look at tweaking your gigs a little bit. So I've actually canceled over the last year and a half, probably 4 or 5 orders with buyers, both mutually or in situations where they just weren't giving me the information I needed to properly complete the project for them. And in my case, it affected my gigs, but in the short term. So for a couple of days after, I noticed a small dip in my analytics. And I know right now Fiverr analytics are largely down for gig statistics, but I was able to bounce back pretty quickly and it didn't really hurt me in the long run. So if this just happened, maybe give it a few weeks to see what's going on. It's also summertime, and I've noticed a little bit of a dip in interest. Like most industries, summer's a slower time. So give it a few weeks, see if it bounces back, and if it doesn't, maybe take a look at your gig, or maybe consider creating a secondary gig to help you kind of build up that Fiverr SEO juice again to build your profile up to where it was before, ranking pretty highly. Anyways, those are my 2 cents on that. I hope that was helpful. Looks like we got a couple of other people in the chat here, so I'm just going to pull that up. So we got Mohammed Sareem. Hey, Mike, I've sent you an email to check out my gig. Please check it out. So Mohammed, thank you so much for submitting your information to me. Like I mentioned in all my emails. I do get a lot of those. So I work through them in the order that they come in. So if you recently submitted a request to me, it might take a little while for me to get to it. So that's not saying that I'm not going to get to it. It's just that I have probably 70, 80 requests from people who sent me emails, and I'm just one guy. So I'm doing my best to get through them all. I would say based on my current workflow and bandwidth, expect to see your review up in a few months. But I will get it up there, and I'll do my best to provide some helpful tips. All right, and sorry that I keep leaning forward like this. I'm actually doing this on an iPad. It's my first time, so I'm not really a master here. All right, so we got Harshit Senkwar. I'm new on Fiverr and have made a good gig with good tags. Please advise me to get my first order. So, first of all, thank you for joining the live stream and welcome to the channel. If you've just created your first gig and your profile and you've done your due diligence to make sure you've built it in a way that it's going to get noticed, the first step is to just give it some time. If it's been a couple days, don't be surprised that you don't get any orders. It might even be a couple months, but feel it out. Wait to see how much interest you're getting over the next couple weeks or months. And if you are getting interest, maybe there's nothing you need to do to speed up the amount of time it's going to take for you to get your first order. But usually with new sellers, what I recommend is if you're just creating a gig and you're just creating a profile, give it a little bit of time, wait to see if it's getting any interest as is, and if not, tweak your gigs. What do I mean by that? So, modifying the subject line, rebuilding a gig description that's packed with information about you, your service, and why they should pick you, and also keywords. You really want to try to rank highly based on the SEO kind of power or juice, we'll call it, your gig has. I have a couple of videos on the channel that you might want to check out that talks about this, but if you're brand new, just give it some time, see how it fares as is, and then make the decision as to whether or not you want to modify it. So good question. Thanks for asking it. All right, so just moving on here. So we got Hassan. Hassan, hey man, what's up? So I've actually done a review of Hassan's profile very recently. He's an awesome dude, and if I recall, he does creative writing, and he's just got a flair for writing. So thank you so much for joining the stream. It's great to see you here, man. Aryan, I answered your question earlier. Just saying thank you. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you joining, and keep us posted on how things turn out with your gig. Saurabh, all right. This is one of the regular dudes on the channel. So, Mike, my internet is really not doing justice today. I was waiting for 15 minutes and then it went. No, not working, but hi again. Saurabh, thank you so much for joining the stream, and thank you for being so engaged on all the videos I put up. I really love seeing comments like yours, and it makes me happy to know that I'm not just some knucklehead spewing nonsense online, and these videos are actually helpful. So awesome to see you, man, and thanks for joining us today. Hassan. Okay, so Hassan is our buddy there that I mentioned. I did a review of his creative writing profile, but he's got a question. So how would you suggest not getting burnt out or slowing down orders when your gig starts ranking highly? I've been a little overwhelmed with orders and I'm not sure how to slow them down. So that is an awesome question, and that is actually something that I struggled with in the past, and I'm always trying to be conscious of. So when you're starting out on Fiverr, obviously you have all engines firing on getting as much traction and securing as many orders as possible in as short a time as possible. And for obvious reasons, you're in it to make money, and in the early days, you really just want to start scoring orders. But Hassan has come to a point that a lot of Fiverr sellers reach, and that's when his gig is starting to get super popular and he's starting to get overwhelmed with work. So he's asking what advice I can give to help him kind of better manage that. And it kind of boils down to a couple things. So the first thing I always do is, because I don't want to turn away work, right? But I also want to make sure I'm valuing my time, and at the same time, not starting to rush through work because I'm getting a lot of orders, resulting in a lower quality. So the first thing I would do is extend the amount of time I take to deliver my orders. So this is actually really beneficial for helping you make more money on Fiverr as well. So what I've done is I offer expedited delivery on all 3 of my gig packages in each of my gigs. If you want something delivered in 24 hours from me, you're basically paying double what the gig is worth. Likewise for my longer term gigs, I do offer a big upsell for expedited delivery. For things that take a little bit more time, I'll usually cut it down from like 10 days to 3 days at a premium price. So what this does is, it allows you to kind of budget your time more effectively by stretching out the amount of time you have to complete a gig. So for me, the absolute quickest standard delivery time I have, I think, is 3 or 4 days. And for my longer or bigger packages, it's like 7 days or 9 days. Play around with delivery timelines. I know a lot of sellers are all about, fast delivery. But if you're getting a lot of orders, you need to make sure you're delivering them at a high quality and to the standards that your buyers are accustomed to. So the first thing I'd recommend is practice or play around with extending your delivery timelines and also adding gig extras for expedited delivery at a really big premium. What that'll do is it'll give you more time to complete your orders, and also if someone really needs it back fast, they're going to be paying you for it, and it'll really help line your pockets and motivate you to get those done quicker. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I would look at doing if you're reaching that point where you're getting so many orders that you're just having trouble keeping up with them is just generally upping your prices. So, to give you an example, when I started on Fiverr, I started doing email writing. I would write emails for people to send out in their marketing efforts. And at the beginning, I would charge $5 for an email. And these emails would take me quite a bit of time to write because I was so, I wanted those 5-star ratings. But, it came to a point where, if I'm getting 5 or 10 orders a week for $5 emails, I'm busy all the time and I'm only really making $50 after completing 10 emails. So I slowly creeped my prices up over time. And what this also did was once you start raising your prices, you might influence the amount of orders you're getting in a negative way, where you might start getting less orders, but the orders that you are getting in at that higher price are higher quality orders, from better buyers who are going to better explain their requirements, who will probably leave you, better reviews, who will probably tip you, and, quite frankly, might come back as repeat buyers. People with a little bit of a bigger budget, or people that you're going to be hitting at that increased price point, might be a level of buyer that, are going to be more sustainable over the long run and a lot more understanding and easier to work with. So the second thing you should consider doing when you're getting to the point where you're just overwhelmed with orders is to up your prices. And I know this is scary for some people because you might feel that it's going to scare away potential buyers, but you'd be surprised. Like when I first started upping my prices, I had that anxiety, but I ended up getting more interest because there's the perception people also have that a higher price service is a better service. I know it might be silly, but that's kind of the consumer, capitalist world we live in. So second thing you can do if you're feeling overwhelmed with orders as you grow is to up your prices. And the third thing really, and this doesn't really directly apply to being overwhelmed, but as you develop as a seller, I know in the early days, a lot of sellers kind of offer everything in their gig package. They'll say, for this price, I'll do everything. But as you develop and you start becoming a higher rated seller and you start climbing through the seller ranks, it might make sense to offer less in each gig and set the expectations that for all the extra services that you offer, they are going to be paid extras. You can add them as a gig extra, and when you do, one of the things I do is anytime someone purchases a gig from me and they add a gig extra that's like a value-added service, it tacks on like 2 or 3 or 4 days to the delivery timeline to give me more time to complete it. And it's pretty reasonable. No one's going to purchase something from you, purchase a bigger package that requires more work and expect it not to take more time. So those are my 3 tips. If you're feeling overwhelmed as you grow as a Fiverr seller with the amount of orders you're getting, the first thing I recommend is play around with your delivery timelines. The second thing is up your prices to kind of hit that higher quality buyer bracket. And the third thing is to try to break down your gigs so that you have more targeted services offering for each package they buy. This will also help you kind of build a workflow around those repeatable or common projects that you're used to completing. So good question, thank you. Moving back to the chat here. All right, so Mohammed, sure, smiley face. Aryan, okay, do you know when we will start to see our analytics again? Because they've been down for a month or so. So I'll be honest with you, man, I have no idea. I know Wayne has talked about this on his channel, and I've been without my gig analytics for a while now too. I have a feeling it's because Fiverr's probably implementing some sort of technology on the back end that's going to help buyers and sellers in the future. So I really don't know the answer to that. I have a feeling it won't be too long. Fiverr is a publicly traded company that's growing insanely fast. So it's in their best interest to fix this or to roll out, whatever the replacement's going to be. But I don't know the exact answer for you. Maybe submit a question to Fiverr support and they'll be able to help you out. But good question. I know a lot of us are probably thinking the same thing. All right, moving on. So we got Caesar Enciandia. Hey, Mike, did you get my questions via email? Caesar, I'm sorry, but I'm on an iPad right now. I can't check my email, but thank you for joining the stream. If you have any questions, just throw them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. Akba, okay, I've seen Akba around the channel a lot. I think he does SEO on Fiverr. Thanks for joining the chat, man. So his question is, hey Nardi, I want to understand how buyers behave on the platform. So interesting question. I don't really know specifically what you mean. So typically I categorize buyers into three main categories, and I actually have a video about this, so I'm not going to really talk about this too much, but you have your tire kickers. You have people who are really, in a rush and not really doing their due diligence to read through your gig, and they'll just place an order. And these types of buyers oftentimes don't even fill out your gig requirements. So this second type of buyer, really you need to do your due diligence to make sure that you're getting all the information you need from them. And then the third type of buyer is the type of buyer that almost gets into like a paralysis state where they're asking you 1,000,001 questions, don't trust that you're an expert, and you really need to put in a lot of effort selling to them. So three types of buyers: tire kickers, people who are really unqualified or just order without really thinking about what they're ordering, and then people who are like asking 1,000,000 questions. How I would handle each, just really quick, is for the tire kickers, these are people who are like inquiring and you're not really sure if they're going to buy, or maybe they're trying to get free consulting out of you in the chat. For these people, I try to identify whether they're a tire kicker as early as possible and literally move on. Like I swat them away. They're a waste of time. I can't tell you how many people in all industries, tire kickers just waste salespeople's time. So if you encounter a tire kicker, kind of drill down and ask them directly, like, hey, I've answered a bunch of your questions. Are you ready to place an order? If they say no, or they just keep asking questions, move on. The second type of buyer are people who rush into placing an order and maybe don't take the time to read through your gig or properly submit the requirements. For these people, I know it's so tempting to just rush through and deliver it to complete the project, but take a few minutes to send them a message, say, hey, I don't have all the information I need from you. In order to complete this properly, I need you to give me this, this, and this. If they don't give it to you, this is a situation where you might want to cancel the project as a seller. I mean, this is up to personal preference, but in my case, I've had buyers that have really rushed through submitting their requirements to me, and when I completed the order, they weren't happy with it, obviously because they didn't do a good job explaining to me what they wanted. So it's kind of in your mutual best interest to take a step back and get them to tell you what exactly they want. And the third type of buyer, similar to tire kickers, are people who just ask you 1,000,000 questions or really don't have faith in your methods. You got to find a way to kind of qualify them and build trust that you're an expert. Otherwise, they're just never going to place an order. So I hope this answered your question. Those are kind of the three buckets of buyers that I think exist on Fiverr. Okay, so moving on. All right, sorry, I'm just going through the chat here. Abed, hey Mike, my question is using an affiliate links for my gig that help me and give me my priority in ranking Fiverr and more traffic from Fiverr. Sorry, I'm Abed, I'm not sure if I understand the question. You're curious if using affiliate links can help you and give your gig priority. So I know that Fiverr has an affiliate program and you can actually create affiliate links linking back to your own gig. I don't know if this necessarily will help your gig rank higher. I think what you might be getting at is you're thinking, hey, if I create an affiliate gig for my link and share it with all my friends and get them to spam click it, it might help me boost. I don't think it works that way if that's what you're asking, but I do think that it's a great way for you to market your gig. One of the things I recommend all sellers do is don't just rely on Fiverr to bring you clients. Post on Facebook, do some prospecting yourself, and email prospective companies that you think you might be a good fit for. Excuse me. And in those situations, yeah, why not use your own affiliate link? You get paid on both ends, which I think is great. So I hope that answers your question. Moving on here. So we got Sorav again. You're doing awesome, man. What advice do you have for time zone issues with response to timing on Fiverr? So that's another great question. And, I think that's a very common question because, most Fiverr sellers are all over the world, right? And buyers can be all over the world. So I think the easiest way to address this is to just make sure you're giving yourself enough time in your delivery timelines to respond and deliver the order in a timely fashion. Same goes for revisions. If you're in Canada selling to people in India, there's a time zone difference there. I would maybe do a custom order, adding a day or two onto the delivery time, and vice versa. And when you're messaging prospects, if you're worried about the time zone, Fiverr actually notifies people when it's nighttime on the other end of the conversation. So I don't know if you have to worry about it too much there. But yeah, if you're having time zone issues, you're concerned with time zone, just extend your delivery timeline, and people will understand. If you're going to deliver great work from across the globe, people get it. It takes a little bit of time to sync things up. So hope that helps. All right, moving on here. Bilal, I got warning and now my gig is not showing. Will it get normal again? Can anyone help with tips? So Bilal, I'm not sure what you got a warning for, but my advice, it's a little late for this, is always make sure you're not getting warnings. I know there's a number of different ways or reasons that people get slapped on the wrist for violating Fiverr's terms of service. I can't stress how important it is to make sure you're playing within the rules. Fiverr is a great platform. They give us a lot of business. They're huge. They give us exposure to a lot of buyers. We as sellers need to do our best to make sure we're not getting warnings. As for your situation, one where you've already gotten a warning and you're not sure whether you can recover, I really don't know what Fiverr's policy is. It might make sense to message Fiverr support and ask, like, hey, is there a cool-off period where I'm going to be, negatively affected after getting this warning? Ask them. I'm sure they'll answer, or check out the Fiverr forums, but I don't know the exact answer to that. My only advice is moving forward, make sure it doesn't happen again, right? Like, you don't want to get in trouble or slapped on the wrist from Fiverr because they do such a great job bringing so many buyers to sellers like us, and that's how we make our money. So yeah, I hope that helps, man, and I hope you can recover. All right, Afolabi, hello. You didn't make any remarks regarding the above mentioned. My gigs didn't appear on the relevant pages anymore yet, and I received orders. I created new gigs after 24 hours. It was deranked. So Afolabi, I don't know what to tell you here. It's on Fiverr, you're competing with a lot of different sellers, right? And people who you're competing against are constantly changing their gigs, modifying subject lines, boosting their SEO by writing good descriptions, and also, people who are getting orders and 5-star ratings, that kind of helps them sift to the top. So if your gigs aren't ranking as highly anymore, it might be time for you to take a look at maybe modifying the SEO or tweaking your gig image, or, like you said, creating a new gig. I don't know the reason why your gig was deranked though. So if you'd like me to dive into this a little bit more, I have another video in one of the playlists on this channel where you can submit your information to me and I'll review your profile. This could be a simple situation where maybe your gig just doesn't look as good as the competition, or maybe some sort of terms of service was violated. I don't know unless I see it, but I'm happy to kind of give you some advice. Just submit your information to me and I'll get around to doing a review for you. But yeah, the short answer is if your gig is moving down the ranks and you're not sure why, take a look at who's ranking highly. Maybe there's some new players who've entered the market, or maybe they're just doing SEO or getting orders at a faster rate than you are. And if so, it might be time to try to, switch gears, adjust pricing, work on SEO, build some beautiful gig images, stuff like that. So I hope that helps. Hassan again. I'm glad to be part of the stream, Mike. It's amazing that you explained it perfectly. Hey, man, I'm happy that you liked it, and I appreciate you as a viewer. We have a cool community here with Fiverr sellers, and Fiverr's, for me and everyone who sells on it, it's an awesome way to supplement your income. It creates opportunities to make more money, and it's amazing. And I just hope that these videos are helpful to help other people, do that and expand the realm of what's possible from a money making perspective. So thanks, man. All right, so we got Hassan again. Can you also suggest how to maximize your order completion rate? I've had 5 to 7 orders canceled in the last 2 months because new clients would often order my services without reading the description. Yeah, so that sucks, and that kind of falls back to what we talked about a little while ago about the types of buyers who will place an order without properly reading what your services are. What I recommend doing is, if you have the opportunity to chat with them before they place an order. So if the buyer is messaging you with questions about your gig before placing an order, pump the brakes for them and make sure you put a disclaimer saying, hey, listen, before you place an order, as much as I want your business, please make sure you're reading my gig and my FAQs and my description and details around my other packages. Read that first and ask me if you have any questions. I can't put it any simpler than that. If you have an opportunity to talk to them and ask them to do that before they place an order, that will help dramatically. I know in the past with me and other sellers, it's exciting to just get them to place an order and get started. You see money and you get excited. But slow it down, qualify them a little bit, ask them some questions about what they want to get done, and help them understand whether or not you can do it. If they don't message you first and they just place an order, now that's where it's up to you to make sure that you're writing your gig description and your FAQs in a way that's as informative as possible so that if they do skim through it, they're getting the information they need. And other than those two things, unfortunately, there might just be people who don't do their due diligence. And in those cases, you got to get creative after they place the order to, find a way to get it done if possible, or worst case scenarios, you got to cancel the order. I hope that was a helpful answer. All right, so Bilal again. Hey Mike, I got a warning and now my gig is not showing. Will I go to normal again? I think we answered this one already, so I'm going to move on. Pixel Garden Moving Pictures. Hi Mike, I have just started out on Fiverr a month ago with a base price of $5 on all my gigs, but luckily have been successfully to sell for $45 average per gig, totaling 10 orders. That's amazing. You're probably doing some upsells or, adding some gig extras or different levels of your package. That is fantastic, and that is the dream, right? Being able to go from selling services for $5 to $45 in a short period of time. Good work, keep it up, and keep us posted. Excited to see where you go with this. All right, so moving on here. Aryan, can you give us an overview of how many new buyer messages you get each day, new orders you get on average each day? How many of them do you turn away? Okay, so that's a good question. On a busy week, I'll get anywhere from 5 to 10 messages from interested buyers a day. Of those 5 to 10, maybe one of them will buy in a day or two. 8 or 9 will usually, go away for a while and might come back to me with questions at a later date. Oftentimes people who message me are just starting out and just starting to look for services, so they're early on in their research phase. As for orders, the last couple months I've been getting one order a day, so 30 to 35 orders a month. This month has been a little bit slower. I think I might be just under 20 orders for the month with a couple still open that I need to complete. But so I've been doing it for about a year and a half. I would say on a really busy month, I'll get 35 orders. On a good month, I'll get 25 to 30. And on a slower month, about 20. But that's kind of the volumes that I get as a copywriter. This probably differs for every industry. I know logo design is in super high demand and there's so much competition, so logo graphic designers might get a lot more inquiries than I do. But that's how it looks for me. I'm just going to take a quick break and get a sip of water here. We got a lot of questions coming in. But for anyone who's just joining the stream, Mike Nardi here. I make videos to help other Fiverr sellers Be successful and make money on the platform. If you have questions, put them in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them here. We've been going for 30 minutes. I'll go as long as I can, or as long as the questions start rolling in. But thank you all for joining. If you haven't, subscribe to the channel. Send me a message. I'm happy to help any way I can. All right, so next question is from Pixel Garden. All right, do you suggest raising the price or just going this way till I start getting regular orders? So if I recall, your last question or your last comment was that you have a gig that you price at $5 and you've managed to like upsell them to $45 per gig, which is awesome. If you're early on in your Fiverr career, I'd recommend keeping the price low until you get like 5 or 10 5-star ratings. Like that's going to be so important, and it's going to be that validation that you use to up your prices and help you sell your services at a higher price. So I'd recommend just being a little patient, get 5, 10, 15 5-star ratings, and start playing around with raising the prices from there, and you can't go wrong in my opinion. So I hope that helps. All right. So we got Sarav, Bilal, thanking Tijan. All right, Tijan, I appreciate you being on the stream, but I hope, let's avoid trying to use the chat as advertising your own gigs. And to be quite honest, this is not the best place to market a Fiverr gig, right? We're all sellers here. So thanks for joining the stream. And if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I'm happy to help. All right, so we got Hassan again. I'm sorry to drop by once again, but this seems like a great opportunity to pick your brain. How would you suggest dealing with buyers that keep adding revisions? Reviewing might get bad review, which is of course the worst, but I can't obviously keep revising stuff for free. Where to draw the line? That is an amazing question. And I know you watched some of my other videos, but for anyone else here who's kind of new, I hate the idea of giving unlimited revisions, and I hate the idea of giving a lot of revisions for free. So what I've done that has been really helpful for my gigs is in my FAQ, and if I can fit it in my gig description, I say that every order gets one courtesy revision. And under that, I say, what is a revision? And I explain that a revision is a minor modification, not a complete rework. And I outline that if you want a complete rework, we need to start talking about additional pricing. What this does is it helps set the bar for what can be expected from you as a seller. If you get an order and they ask for a revision, I would remind them that, okay, sure, I offer one free revision with every order. What would you like to use that towards? When they tell you what you do, complete the revision. If they come back at you saying, hey, I'm still not happy, I want another revision, say, no problem. I charge, whatever you charge for an additional revision. For me, I basically charge the price of the gig again. If you want another revision after the first one, it's going to cost you money. And say it politely. Say, hey, happy to do that. Of course, revisions happen. But unfortunately, I only include one free revision per order. What I find happens a lot of the time is this will either, in one situation, diffuse the buyer completely, and they'll be like, it's fine, it's good enough, I'll just accept the delivery, and they give me a good rating. And in the other case, they might push back and say, oh, you only offer one revision. And in that situation, I say, yeah, I do. It's clearly outlined on my gig. If you'd like to move forward with a revision, I can, add the amount to the gig or to the order and we'll proceed. Otherwise, we'll have to mark it as completed. And just leave it at that. You don't have to chase tennis balls with all their requests. If you clearly outline it in the FAQ and you set the expectation that you only allow for one free revision per order, the expectation has been set. It's just up to you and the buyer to work out whether or not they actually want that second revision. This has helped with me, and I think this is a very important thing for a lot of other sellers to do. It's so easy to fall into the trap of feeling like the buyer's always right and just doing everything they ask you. So set the expectations about revisions and do your best to keep the buyer on track. Hope that helps. All right. So we got Danny. Hey Mike, what do you think about the issue with Fiverr not showing gig statistics? It's been more than 2 months. So Danny, thanks for joining the stream. We actually got this question a little while ago, and I really don't know how long it's going to be before Fiverr fixes that issue. I mentioned earlier that my hunch is that they're probably doing some upgrades on their tech stack on the back end to improve the platform for buyers and sellers, but I really don't know. I feel like it won't be too long. Obviously it's in Fiverr's best interest to add that functionality back because it helps sellers target their gigs and work on their gigs. But to answer your question, I really don't know the answer. We're just going to have to hang tight and see what happens. But thanks for joining the stream. Appreciate your question. All right, Sarav, what do you suggest about higher ticket gig which takes a lot of time and are expensive? For example, personalized artwork. Should we put them on level 1 seller? How much seller level and review effects bars? So that's a good question. I don't think your seller level should dictate how much you charge for a gig that takes a lot of work. Do I think that you should start with a lower cost gig to help you build traction and reviews? Yes. But if you also want to offer a gig that is, a really thorough, custom, personalized piece of artwork like you mentioned, I think you can totally do that. And I think you can totally offer that alongside your main gig at a price that type of a service would demand. What I would say is just outline in the description, details around why this service is what it is. I wouldn't talk about why the price is what it is in the description, but maybe just outline, hey, here's what you get with this service. Here's why it's better than my lower price gig. Here's what it includes. And really just point out all the things that they're getting for that higher price. And I think you should be fine doing that. But that's a great question. I hope this was helpful. All right. So moving on. Bilal, I have subscribed. Good job. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm just a guy out here. I'm a Fiverr seller, and I put out videos because I love Fiverr, and I love the feeling that these videos are helpful. So hearing that you subscribed is amazing. Thanks. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. All right, Tajan. Hello, Mike. I have sent out over 120 buyer requests, but I only got 3 replies. How can I get more replies? Good question. So I actually have a video coming out in the next couple of weeks that talk about buyer requests, and I'll be honest with you, I hate buyer requests. I know a lot of sellers feel like it's a good way to influence how quickly they get orders, but I think it's a total waste of time. You're a perfect example. You've responded to 120 requests and you've only gotten 3 replies. I don't even know if you got those 3 replies into orders, right? So that's a lot of time to spend replying to buyer requests. Instead, what I think is a better strategy for being proactive about getting orders is to draft up some sort of a prospecting email or message that you actively send to people off of Fiverr. So link back to your Fiverr gig and send target clients emails or messages saying, hey, I know you run this type of a company. I'm a graphic designer, or I'm a copywriter, or I am this. I offer services that you might be interested in, and I sell them through Fiverr. Here's a link to my gig. Check them out. I think prospecting off of the Fiverr platform and linking people back to Fiverr will yield you much, much better results and be a much better use of your time than buyer requests. So that's my advice. I don't have any tips for how to do better on buyer requests because I think the whole system is just, it's really time consuming. But if you want to be proactive, start emailing people or reaching out to business owners that you think might be interested in your service and just try to sell it to them the old-fashioned way. Say, hey, I do this on Fiverr. If you want to hire this type of a freelancer for your company, here are my gigs. Sending 120 emails that way will probably get you a much higher response rate than the 120 buyer requests you responded to. So that's my 2 cents, and I think that's a great tip for you. All right. $1, how are you? I'm good, man. Thanks for joining the stream. I've actually seen you comment before, so thanks for sticking with us, and happy to have you here. All right, so we got Wayne the Articulate Asian. Again, if you don't know Wayne, he's a good buddy of mine. He's a Fiverr seller as well with a YouTube channel. Wayne's comment, Mike, the info you've provided here is super insightful. Everyone can benefit from this live stream. Great job. Thank you, man. So for those of you who don't know, Wayne actually does Fiverr live streams as well. This is my first one, but I've seen how helpful his have been. So he inspired me to start doing this. Wayne, thanks for the comment, man. And for those of you who watch both of us, we're actually in the process of figuring out a way to do one of these live streams with both of us somehow. Wayne here, me here, and answering your questions live, because We both sell in different industries. I'm a copywriter, he's a voice actor. So we can provide some different insight that might be helpful to you. So stay tuned for that, and we'll definitely keep you posted for when that happens. Wayne, thanks for the comment, man. Rise, hey dude. Rise, hey dude, thanks for joining. Afolabi, please, how can I forward my details to you? Okay, so I have a playlist that's titled Fiverr Gig Reviews and Tips or something like that. In that playlist, the first video outlines how you can submit your information to me and what information I need you to submit to me in order for me to complete a review and post it on this channel. So what I've been doing is I get people to send me their Fiverr profile name, the gig they want me to review, a fun fact about themselves, and some background on their education and previous work experience. If you send me those things in the format that I outlined in that video, I'll add you to my production list and I'll make a review and put it on this channel where I walk through your gig and I give you any tips that I can. It's totally free, and honestly, I think it's a really awesome opportunity for you to even get some advertising. You know, I leave all these videos on the channel, and I know the channel is just in the early stages of growing, but it gets your gig out there, and the tips have been, really helpful for other sellers. So go check out that playlist, send me your info, and I'll do my best to review your profile and gig as soon as possible. Thanks for asking. That was a great question. All right, Rise again. I'm going to start selling on Fiverr in the next 2 weeks. Copywriting. Top 3 tips to get started. Rise. Awesome. I'm looking forward to having a fellow copywriter here on the channel and on Fiverr. So first tip, obviously, is subscribe to the channel. I'm just joking. First tip is take some time to build a really solid Fiverr profile. Include a headshot of yourself, professional looking picture. It doesn't have to be, it could be on an iPhone or whatever, but just make sure, I like headshots. I think they look professional. On your profile, fill out your description. Give some information on who you are. So think of it this way: who you are, why they should care, and what you do and what your past experience is. That'll help kind of lure them in and add some confidence in you as a seller in the eyes of a new buyer. The second tip is after you've created your profile, create your first gig and take some time to do some research of other copywriters and sellers on Fiverr and use that as an example to figure out what gig you want to start with. So copywriting is a broad niche, right? I do email writing, website content, LinkedIn messaging. There's hundreds of things. You could write ebooks, you could do marketing copy, advertising copy, whatever. Take some time to figure out what you might want to start with. Look at the different sellers that are doing it and figure out what types of services you want to sell as a starting point. I recommend then launching that gig, and same like with your profile, make your description awesome. Pick a title that's going to be optimized for SEO, and put some awesome pictures. And for copywriting, I don't really recommend adding a portfolio because it's words. Like in every copywriting project is different. Just put it I usually put a thumbnail outlining the scope of my services, and if people have questions, they can message me. So that's tip number 2. And tip number 3 is to just be persistent and don't give up. It takes time to get your first order on Fiverr, and it takes time to get your 10th order on Fiverr. And I'm at the point where I've been doing it for a year and a half, and I have hundreds of orders on Fiverr, but it's taken time. Just be patient. Always look at ways to improve and increase your likelihood of getting new buyers on the platform. And I have faith that it'll work out in the end. I mean, I can't promise you anything because there's so many variables, other sellers in competition. But if you stick with it, I think you'll have a good shot, right? So those are my 3 tips for getting started as a copywriter. I actually have a video on this channel. It's featured on the channel. It's a tutorial on how to go from 0 to 3,000 per month copywriting on Fiverr. And I linked to some helpful courses on Skillshare that I think are good for new writers starting out. So you could check that out and some of the other videos on the channel. Hope they're helpful, and good luck as a copywriter, man. Looking forward to seeing your gigs. All right, Ariane. Hey, Mike, thank you so much for answering these questions. They're really helping, and you're going to do more of these live streams because they're awesome. Thank you, man. I really appreciate the comment, and I probably will do more of these live streams. I recently got this iPad, and it makes it a lot easier to set this up. I know today I'm in a different condo and the lighting's not perfect, but I'll work on upping that quality, and I'll definitely have more live streams in the next couple weeks or months for you guys. So really looking forward to that. right, just going to grab a quick drink here before I jump into the next one. All right. So next question. I have 7 gigs on Fiverr for 5 weeks, but I've only gotten 2 sales so far. So, I mean, I don't know what you're selling, right? One of the things I always recommend, you say you have 7 gigs and you've only gotten a couple sales, is to try to be consistent with the types of services that you're offering. I usually suggest picking a niche and sticking into that niche so that you're viewed as a specialist. And the second thing is when you look at your profile and you look at all your gig thumbnails for your 7 gigs, how does it look? Is there brand consistency? Do the thumbnails generally follow the same color palette or theme? That's something I look at as well. So one of the things I really recommend sellers do is to try to be viewed as a specialist in your respective niche. And those are 2 ways that you can do that. So I hope that's helpful. I think I mentioned this to you earlier, but if you want to submit your gig and your profile to me for review, I'm happy to do that on the channel for you. So just check out that video and submit it, and I'll do my best to get some tips out to you. All right, so we've been going for about 45 minutes. I still have some juice left or some gas left in the tank, so we'll keep going. But for anyone who just joined the stream, my name is Mike. I'm a Fiverr seller. I make YouTube videos to help other sellers make more money and grow as freelancers on the platform. If you've just joined the stream, please put your comments or questions in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. But it's been great so far, and thank you everyone who's commented so far. So let's move on here. Ariane, Mike, do you edit your own videos? If so, which software do you use? So, good question. I do edit my own videos. I don't know if I would consider myself a good video editor, but when I first started, the first 10 or 15 videos I posted on the channel, I just used the free Windows movie editing software on Windows, and it sucked. Since then, I've played around with Adobe Premiere Rush, and I'm looking at using Premiere Pro. I know there's a bit of a learning curve there, so I've been reluctant. But yeah, I use either Premiere or iMovie. Great pieces of software. So thanks for the question. Tejan, I have no way to advertise my gigs. What shall I do? Tejan, I disagree with you. I think you have a lot of ways to advertise your gigs. I assume that you're commenting on this live stream on either a cell phone, a laptop, a computer, or a tablet. If you have access to the internet, you can search for companies that might want to buy your gig. And if you can search for companies that might want to buy your gig, you can go to the Contact Us page and send them an email letting them know that you offer these services on Fiverr. That is a great way to advertise your gig. Give it a shot. I think you'd be surprised at the results. Good luck, man. Kabir, hey man, good to see you live. Good to see you live. Thanks for joining the stream. It's been awesome so far. We're almost at an hour, and I haven't lost my voice yet on my first stream, so pretty good. Thanks for joining. Surav, love it. You post a lot of questions. I love it, man. A bit of a non-technical question. As I watched your interview with Wayne and thought you have, sorry, let me just reread this. A bit of a non-technical question. As I watched your interview with Wayne, what thoughts do you have on earning a living on Fiverr, say $1,500, as we know consistently is difficult? Your tips. So I think earning $1,500 per month on Fiverr is very possible. Take me, for example. I'm not like some mastermind freelancer. I'm a guy who started a year and a half ago and went from making a couple $100s per month to now where I'm very regularly passing $3,000 per month, and definitely passing $1,000 every month. I average probably in the range of $2,500 to $3,500 lately. I think it's definitely possible to create an income of $1,500 per month. And I know for a lot of the viewers on this channel, depending on where you live, that's a living income, and that's amazing. So that's why I love Fiverr and I love putting out these videos. My tips on how to get there, while I can't, obviously it's a much larger conversation than just a couple seconds I'm going to take to answer this question, but it boils down to a couple things. So the first is consistency. both consistency in the services and the quality of the services you're offering, and consistency in you as a seller. You got to view Fiverr as a business. You got to respond to people in a timely fashion and respond to them professionally. So be consistent, and that consistency will help you grow. The second thing is finding ways to upsell and streamline your services. So when I started, I was just offering emails. Now I offer like 5 or 6 different gigs, and I offer a ton of different gig extras that has helped me up the amount of money I'm making. So as you grow as a seller, to get to that $1,500 or above earning per month point on Fiverr, you really need to be proactive in finding ways and new revenue streams that you can start to monetize on Fiverr. For me, the most easy way to up my revenues was to add expedited deliveries. Like, I can't tell you how many people are in a rush and they'll pay to get the delivery sent to them faster. For me, it takes the same amount of time. So that's a huge boost in ROI on my time for me, because I'm completing something that takes the same amount of time. I'm just prioritizing it above other projects. So that's the other thing. If you want to get to that $1,500 mark earning point, $1,500 per month earning point as a seller on Fiverr, you need to up your services. And then the last thing that I'll recommend, and I have a video that talks about this, it's called Make $200 per hour on Fiverr, is streamlining your workflow. So on Fiverr, as a seller, there's so many things we do every day that are repetitive. When a new buyer messages you, you usually send some sort of a message responding, or if they have questions or the same types of questions, you'll respond with the same types of answers. One of the things I did that helped me save a lot of time, and by saving time allows me to complete more orders, is using Fiverr quick responses. If 10 people a week ask you the same question, I don't want to have to type out the same answer 10 times. Create a quick response and send it to them quickly. So those are my tips. I think it's very possible to make over $1,500 a month on Fiverr, and that's what this channel is all about. Most of my video titles talk about how to make this much money a month or this much money per hour, and they're all just tips that I've learned along the way that I think anyone can apply. So I definitely think it's possible. I definitely think you can do it, and it just takes time and effort. So good luck. All right, I'm going to take a quick water break, so just give me 1 second. Okay. Talking a lot here. All right, so next question, MD Shofil Hassan. How can I SEO my gig? Some tips would be helpful. So first of all, welcome to the channel. How to boost your gig's SEO, it kind of breaks down into a couple of main focus areas. So the first is your subject line. I try to build my subject lines in a way that I think people would be searching for those types of services in Fiverr. So I try to figure out what my target keywords are, and I try to build the subject line in a way that both reads naturally and doesn't stuff too many keywords in there. So that's number one. The second is your gig description. So you want to make sure you're including keywords, both short and long tail, in your gig description, but you don't want to stuff your gig description with keywords, and you don't want to just make it a block of like random keywords. And this is where it's a little bit of an art, really. You need to write a gig description that explains your gig properly, reads like it was written by a human, and includes keywords in it. So that takes some practice, but you can learn how to do that by reviewing the gigs of other top sellers or paying someone to do it. That's the quickest and easiest way, but if you're resourceful and don't want to spend the money, just take a look at some of the top people on Fiverr, type in the keyword you want to target and look at the page 1 results and get a feel for what they're doing. So I think that'd be really helpful in helping you boost your gig SEO. So thanks for the question. All right, more questions rolling in. So another one from Hassan. I know we never want to reach the point, but when an order does reach cancellation, what would you suggest the best route to go? Via customer support, takes time, but stats can't change, or mutual cancellation? That's a great question, and it depends. If the buyer is not a good buyer and they just keep requesting revisions, or they're being rude and you don't want to work with them, I would just go straight to support. I don't have the patience or the energy to deal with someone with that level of negativity. If, however, you and the buyer mutually realize, hey, this isn't going to work out, and you're both being nice about it, I don't see the issue with a mutual cancellation, and that's actually the route I go most of the time. So hope that was helpful. All right, next question. We got Rise again. Thanks. Nice. Thanks for that. I'll check out your videos. Enjoy. Dominion. Hey. Hi. How's it going? Thanks for joining the stream. All right. So next one. It's from Kabir. Kabir, thank you. Welcome to the channel. So apart from Fiverr, which freelance website would you prefer for beginners? So that's a trick question, I think, because I only recommend Fiverr. I know there's Upwork out there as well. It's a big company. But I just love how Fiverr has built this gig economy that actually sells work on predefined packaged pricing versus hourly rates. I think it's a lot easier to sell services that way. I think it's a lot easier to kind of, estimate your earnings, and it's also a great way to scale your earnings because you can offer a service that delivers a whole lot of value that doesn't take you a whole lot of time and charge a premium for it, whereas on Upwork you're charging per hour. I don't really like. I know you can charge per gig, I think, on Upwork, but I just love Fiverr, and I think that if you're a beginner, give Fiverr a shot. You can't go wrong. It's a huge company too. If you look at their stock ticker, they're like one of the few companies that are like increased in value by like 4x during this pandemic. So they're amazing. I would check out Fiverr for sure. All right, Swarov. Thanks, man, for your amazing advice. And sorry for asking so many questions. By the way, your tattoos are looking nice, man. How do you manage time with everything you do? Regular job, Fiverr, personal life. So thank you. Yeah, I got a lot of tattoos. I like them. My girlfriend doesn't want me to get any more, but I get it. She wants me to keep my beautiful face as it is. But yeah, good question. How do I manage Fiverr with my regular job and my personal life? So in the early days, I was having a hard time doing that. When I was first coming up as a Fiverr seller, I was rushing to complete Fiverr orders. I was prioritizing my Fiverr time because I was really excited to build this secondary revenue stream. But as I grew and as I got to the point where I am now, personal life matters. Your friends, your family, your girlfriends, your wives, your husbands, that stuff all matters. So I try to, set blocks of time to complete my Fiverr work in, and that has helped. And I also do my best to constantly look for ways that I can save time. So I talk a lot about using Fiverr quick responses or creating a professional looking template that when you deliver your project, you just paste it in the template and send to your buyers. I'm all about optimizing the amount of time I'm spending. So that's how I manage everything, really. And in turn, by doing those types of things, it's allowed me to become more efficient and increase the amount of money I'm making for each hour I'm spending. So when I started on Fiverr, I was making like $20 to $40 an hour on average. And now it's very common for me to make well over $100 per hour, which, I don't know about you, that's an amazing amount of money for me. So that's how I did it. I just, I focus on streamlining and optimizing my process and also making sure that I'm prioritizing the things that are most important in my life, like my girlfriend and my family and my friends. So good question, and I hope that was a helpful answer. All right, Ariane. Recently, I've been approached by a seller who wants me to complete his outsourced orders. Should I work with him or not? It will mean that I get more orders because I'm a new seller, but I don't know. So that's up to you. I know that there are so many people hustling Fiverr right now where they act as the middlemen, where they'll put up a gig, get an order for $50, and then hire you to do it for $30. It's up to you. In the past, I didn't really like doing these types of orders because if you got a revision request, the revision goes from the person who's buying from you's client asks for the revision, then it goes to them, and then it goes to you. So there might be a bit of a broken telephone situation there that might make it tough to complete things in the defined timeline, and it might also make it tough to actually figure out what the real buyer wants to order because there's this middleman between the two of you. But I don't see any harm in it. A lot of people do this. I do a lot of projects for marketing agencies that don't have copywriters on staff and just hire me, and I'm cool with it, but it's totally your preference. If you don't want to take that risk in the early days, that's up to you, but it doesn't hurt, and it's a great way to pump up your order numbers. Good question. All right, so moving on. Get wrecked. Get wrecked. Thank you for joining my stream here, and thanks for your comment. So I'll answer that. But when canceling an order, won't it hurt the stats in your ranking? So the short answer is yeah, it probably will. But the long answer is there's only so much you can do to make someone who doesn't want to be made happy. I have a lot of situations over the last year and a half where I had buyers who I delivered an amazing project. I did a lot of work. I went above and beyond, and they still weren't happy, and they were trying to take advantage of me. In that situation, that buyer is never going to give you a great rating, and even if they do, I don't want to work with them again. They're a nightmare. They waste all your time and they stress you out. So in those situations, this is my personal preference. I'd rather just cancel the order. Yeah, it might negatively affect your stats for the short term, but Fiverr only really cares if you keep your, I think it's over 90% order completion rate. They understand that some relationships just aren't going to work out. So for me, if someone's taking advantage of me, I just move on. But yeah, hope that helps. All right, Mo Jordan TV. Hello, Mike. I got a question for you. If Fiverr takes 20% of the gigs as a cut, can you use that as an expense to reduce your tax? That's a good question. I'm not a tax guy, and every country is different, but maybe I would talk to an accountant or a tax prep person for that question, but you might be able to, so definitely ask the question. That's an awesome question. Utkarsh Jaiswal, thanks for joining the stream. Thanks for your comment. So hey, please tell me, if we are beginners, then after how many orders should we increase our gig price? That's a good question, but it depends on you. Typically, I recommend keeping your price at the rock bottom, $5 for the amount of time it takes you to get 10 or 15 orders with ratings. You want 5-star ratings. Once you start to build a reputation on Fiverr as a good seller, you can start upping your prices, but it's totally up to you. Good question. All right, so we're just over an hour. I'm going to do 3 more. So I'm just going to have some water, and I'll take 3 more questions. And thank you guys all for joining. This is my first live stream. I was a little nervous, but it's been going well, and I love all the engagement and the questions. So stay tuned for the next one. A couple more questions before I go, though. Shanu, how to get your very first order as a beginner. So Shanu, welcome to the channel. As a beginner, there's going to be a couple things you need to do. So assuming you've already built your profile and it looks great and it's optimized, and your gig, it looks great and it's optimized, there's only so much you can do. The first thing is I always recommend setting your price at $5. Keep it at the minimum in the beginning. The second thing you need to do that not a lot of sellers do because it's scary or they're lazy is actually try to sell your gig yourself. So I talk about finding businesses online who might be interested in working with someone like you, finding an email or going to their contact us page and contacting someone at that business. Let them, sorry, I just got a call in. Let them know that you offer this service, that you charge X amount of money for that service, and try to prospect. That's the only good advice I can give you, is be proactive about selling that first gig. All right. Last one I'm going to do is from Named. So, hi, I want to start a logo designing on Fiverr, and I was wondering what's the best way to boost your gigs on the main page as a beginner. So, great question. Welcome to the channel, and I wish you luck as a logo designer. But it's really going to boil down to making sure your gig is optimized, priced competitively, and you really need to do your best to get it out there in the early days. The last answer I gave kind of talks about this, but try to sell it yourself. Find companies that might want to hire a graphic designer like you or whatever you do, and email them, call them, do whatever you have to do. That's how most people sell. You know, Fiverr is great for giving you the freebies and kind of sending people to your gig, but you can try to sell it yourself, and you might have some great success doing that. So I hope that helps. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. So thank you all for joining. This was awesome. This was my first live stream. You know, thank you for all the questions, and I hope these answers were helpful. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, give the live stream a like, and I try to put out videos at least every week that talk about how to become a better seller on Fiverr so you can make more money and, you know, do what you want to do. So thanks for watching. Cheers, guys.